of 101 famous poems. Wolsey's farewell to his greatness. From Henry VIII, by John Fletcher. Spoken and with commentary by E. T. Hansen. Farewell, a long farewell to all my greatness. This is the state of man. Today he puts forth the tender leaves of hope, tomorrow blossoms, and bears his blushing honors thick upon him. The third day comes a frost, a killing frost, and when he thinks good, easy man full surely his greatness is a ripening, nips his root, and then he falls, as I do. I have ventured, like little wanton boys that swim on bladders, this many summers in a sea of glory, but far beyond my depth. My high-blown pride at length broke under me, and now has left me, weary and old with service, to the mercy of a rude stream that must forever hide me. Vain pomp and glory of this world, I hate ye. I feel my heart new opened. Oh, how wretched is that poor man that hangs on princes' favors! There is, betwixt that smile we would aspire to, that sweet aspect of princes, and their ruin, more pangs and fears than wars or women have, and when he falls like Lucifer, never to hope again. Someday, we will all have to sell cookies on the beach. My thoughts on reading Fletcher's Wolsey's Farewell to His Greatness. When I decided to move from Hawaii to Germany to study medieval German literature and marry the woman I loved, back in the 80s, I needed money. So I went to work for a small free newspaper that specialized in classified ads, the Penny Saver. I would cold call potential advertisers on the phone and try to sell them classified. I was pretty good at it because I was highly motivated, but I saw that they had a policy when it came to leaving the job. You would give notice a month or so in advance so they had time to find a replacement for you. But because they knew workers are not very motivated in their final month and don't produce much, they would fire you before your time was up. That meant I would miss out on my final paycheck, which I desperately needed. So instead of giving notice in advance, I told my boss, a nice personal woman I liked quite a lot, that I was leaving the Friday before I got on the plane. She was upset, of course, and personally disappointed in me for betraying her, and she gave me quite a withering lecture on ethics and friendship and karma, which hurt more than I had expected it would. A few years later, I was talking on the phone to my big sister back in Hawaii, and she said, "You'll never guess who I ran into the other day." It was my former boss at Penny Saver. They recognized each other and talked, and my former boss said that she had fond memories of me. But she asked my sister not to tell me how they met. She was embarrassed. My sister told me anyway, of course. She had stumbled across her on Waikiki Beach, where my old boss, who once wielded so much authority and power over me, was selling cookies to tourists in a little booth. We all fall. When I was a child, I imagined my life taking a steady upward trajectory, from one learning station to another, from one success to the next, yet bigger success. Instead, life turned out to be a roller coaster ride, full of ups and downs that I didn't see coming, and those downs were always a shock. You come to work and someone else is sitting at your desk. You're about to propose to the one you love when she breaks up with you. Everything seems fine and the family is happy, and then the ATM informs you that your bank account is empty and your identity has been stolen. Or a family member falls terribly sick, or you are struck by lightning on a clear day, or war breaks out, or a terrible virus, or your children reveal to you that you were a terrible parent. And it's not just us little guys who bounce from moderate success to abject failure. Even those grand movers and shakers of the world, whose names will be in the history books for generations to come, must endure defeats so breathtaking that they will question whether their success meant anything at all. Steve Jobs died of cancer at 76, just when he was supposed to be most enjoying the fruits of his labor. John McAfee rocketed to wealth and fame when he invented one of the world's most used antivirus programs. But he ended up pursued by the law for suspicion of murder and killing himself in a Spanish jail cell while awaiting extradition for tax evasion. Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos remained rich and powerful, but they lost the women they loved to divorce after investing decades of hard work into their relationships. It's not a glitch. Nothing has gone wrong. The downs are hardwired into the experience of life. That's how life is meant to be. We're not designed to stay on one path, especially not on the path we envisioned for ourselves. Sooner or later, the success we achieve in life is taken from us, and we are left facing a new life we never asked for and go off in search of that job on the beach selling cookies. I've been through this cycle of ups and downs too often to think it's funny anymore, and if there is one thing I've learned painfully, it is that you can lose just your job, or you can lose your job and your life, because your job was your life. Especially those of us who have dedicated themselves to striving for some kind of achievement often find ourselves, after the fall, in a dark, empty pit with no way out. Our thoughts and feelings forever revolving around what was, what we lost, the enemies who put us there, the mistakes we made, and the often futile hope that we might get a second chance. That seems like a large price to pay for the few years of success, but it doesn't have to be the end of everything. The secret, I think, is not to make your entire life about that success or that dream or whatever it is you strive for. Dedicate yourself to it, but don't pin your entire self-worth on it. Don't sacrifice the important things in life for it. Relationships, personal growth, fulfillment, seeing the world, taking advantage of what modern life has to offer, living life as full as possible. Happiness, joy, just plain fun. These are the things that can't be taken from you. Your memories, your experience of the world, your inner life. When you fall, as you most certainly will, don't be left holding nothing but dust in your hands. Let the thing you lose, the success, the applause, the wealth and status, take up not 90% of your self-worth, but closer to 10%. Let the other 90% be things that don't turn to dust, so that when disaster arrives, you can still look around, assess the rubble and debris of your life, and be able to say, I still have everything I need. About the poet, John Fletcher. John Fletcher, 1579 to 1625, was one of the most famous English playwrights of the Elizabethan and Restoration ages, rivaling the fame of Shakespeare, with whom he collaborated on 2 plays. Fletcher was born in Rye, Sussex, to a cleric who was later the Bishop of London. Fletcher appears to have studied at Cambridge at age 11 and is documented as a playwright 15 years later, collaborating first with Francis Beaumont, then joining Shakespeare at his company, The King's Men, where he stayed on until his own death, apparently of the plague. Starting with some early plays that failed, perhaps because they did not conform to audiences' expectations, he rose to fame with tragicomedies like Philaster, The Humorous Lieutenant, and The Island Princess, then went on to tragedies that included The Maid's Tragedy and Rollo, Duke of Normandy, and comedies like Rule a Wife and Have a Wife, and Beggar's Bush, not to mention a sequel to Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew. Today, Fletcher is mainly remembered for his 2 collaborations with Shakespeare, The Two Noble Kinsmen and Henry VIII. The famous Wolsey monologue in that play is generally attributed to Fletcher. Historically, Thomas Wolsey was a cardinal and Lord High Chancellor to Henry VIII, and one of the most powerful and controversial men of his time. His career, politics, intrigues, and eventual fall from grace have been depicted in many plays, movies, and books.